Well, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to another segment of Man to Man. I am so excited that you tuned in with us. We pray that we are helping you, encouraging you, giving you some nuggets that you can be a better parent. Our car of the week is going to be a 66 Mustang convertible. And one of my favorite color cars is white. So a white on white 66 Mustang convertible. Got a 289 cubic inch 3-speed tranny. I would like to have one with an automatic tranny, so I can stick it with the top down. My uncle had a 66, his was hardtop, and I fell in love with him once I remember his. And so once I make some room in my garage, that's going to be another one I have to add to my collection. So listen, why don't you type in the comments, what's your favorite car? What's your favorite car? And let's see if your favorite car would make the car of the week for next week. Well, listen, we got another incredible conversation for you today. And I got with us again, I'm going to keep saying back by popular demand, none other than Terrence Ray. Terrence, how you doing today?
I'm good, Pastor A.D. Burns.
All right.
It's good to be in demand, man.
All right.
How are you? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Weekend was good. It's always a little challenging dealing with some aches and pains throughout the week after all the stuff I do. But the weekend was incredible, actually.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
All I needed was your credit card.
Oh, hey.
And then I would have got me a private jet and went to Antigua somewhere, wherever that is.
Or at least had you get that drop top Mustang.
Oh, yeah, okay,
man.
that would have been better.
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
I
like to help out, man.
All right, I can roll. What that song say? I forgot what the song say, but I can roll it. I can roll with that one.
With that red Mustang. You said white, but my dad had a red one, man.
Okay.
Yeah, 66 Mustang, hard top.
Yeah. White is my favorite color car. I think white is clean, and then black is the next favorite color.
Okay.
And black is mean. So
Black
if you want to be mean, you put that black on there.
Okay.
And if you want to be clean, you get that white on there.
There you go.
But that's interesting that we have stereotyped the color black. We always associate black with mean or
bad,
no good
negative,
or bad,
exactly.
Mm-hmm. And I think as a result of that, I think that plays into our culture as far as who we are as a people.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that.
Amen. So today we want to talk about a parent's love, the intricate nature of a parent's love,
Wow.
So when we talk about our children, I have 2 boys, and they're grown and almost on their own, and you have girls.
Yes, I do.
How many girls you got?
I have 2 daughters.
You have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
All right.
And when I think about intricate and intimate love, I think that's very appropriate, man,
Okay.
for this discussion. Intimate is just intertwined and just tight, and it's all over the place, unconditional. And
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's going to give us
exists.
That's going to give us a real good perspective. I got 2 boys, you got 2 girls.
Yes.
So as we look at these topics, we got just 2 or 3 things we want to look at today. And the first we want to talk about is responsibility when it comes to our children and how much responsibility we give them. And we have different styles. Maya Angelou says that it takes a village to raise a child. And so that means it takes many different hands and different aspects in order for a child to mature and develop their character.
Exactly.
But when we talk about responsibility, one of the mistakes I think that we make as parents, and I don't necessarily know if it's a bad mistake. If I had to do it all over again, I would probably tweak it a little bit. But the whole idea of not wanting our children to go through what we went through. Now, I'm not suggesting that they go through what we went through. Mm-hmm. However, when we protect them from everything that life throws their way, I don't know if that makes them responsible to the degree that, they can be better.
That's interesting. I think because as men, we really take on that protector role.
Okay.
And I think we take it on very seriously. But I also think it's, from a gender standpoint, I think it provides an opportunity for us to do exactly what men are supposed to do and what women are supposed to do so that we can get an equal balance.
Okay.
You know?
Now, speaking of gender and roles, we live in what is considered a gender neutral society.
Yeah.
And as a
Yeah.
result, we have, our young people that's coming up now. They don't have those different ideas when it comes to what roles and responsibilities are for the man and for the woman. What are your thoughts about that?
I think overall society plays a huge role in that conversation. I think where we are right now with the whole gender neutral thing, I personally think it's a bit daunting, but looking at the whole idea about, men and boys and girls, and I don't mean to be wrong, I don't want to be wrong with this, but using the same lavatory and, that sort of thing. It just, for me, it confuses people. But I understand it, and, to be somewhat politically correct, I'll go along with it. Interestingly, I sent an article out. I posted an article about the importance of men telling men that they love each other.
Okay.
And traditionally that's been kind of taboo.
Okay.
Particularly if you embrace another man and tell him you love him, that's looked upon as soft and weak and that sort of thing. But I think it's actually tapping into your emotional sensitivities and your emotional intelligence.
Okay.
To be comfortable with telling another man you love him.
Well, let's look. You said a couple things, and let's see if we can look at those two things. One of the things that you said was the whole gender neutral with using the same bathrooms and that. Let's talk about that for a minute, and then we'll talk about the whole nurturing father saying I love you and what that does. Now, I don't have girls, but I have a grandbaby,
Okay.
and I wouldn't want her to go into a gender neutral bathroom. You know what I mean? Now, I know we have places where they only have one bathroom, so that really could be considered that way if it's a private bathroom. But as far as a man who feels that he's a woman being in a bathroom that's open for women, and my daughter being there, I don't.
What about taking your granddaughter into a a sign that says openly men? Would you take your granddaughter in the bathroom there? Or would you send her into the women's bathroom alone?
No, I would take her in there because I would want to be with her, and I think that's the difference. Me being with her again as that protector versus me just sending her in there.
Right.
But the other thing about the whole gender thing is I think we kind of blown it out of proportion a lot when we talk about a woman can do what a man can do, and which is cool. But some things I don't know why a woman would want to do, because there are some things I have to do as a man that I don't want to necessarily do. You understand what I mean?
Right.
But it's cool in that respect that you can be anything that you want to be.
Right.
When it comes to marriage, I think that it kind of messes up a little bit because we were created for different roles, and I understand if the man is not fulfilling his role, then the woman steps in, or vice versa. There are single parents that are men, and there are single parents that are women. However, I believe the way that we've been designed to operate, if we operate within those parameters, we get the most out of life.
Exactly.
And so I'm definitely not saying a woman can't do what a man can do or shouldn't. I'm just saying when it comes to roles, there's a reason for some of those roles.
So you do believe in traditionally defined roles for each gender then?
Somewhat traditional.
Okay.
I know from experience, from working with people for, all the years that I've worked with people, over 40 years I've been counseling with people in different capacities, and I know for sure that men don't like to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway, that a woman is like a rubber ball. She's very resilient, you know, and so you throw her up against the wall, she gonna bounce back.
I like that.
You know, she
I like
go.
that.
You know, if the husband leave the house, she gonna step in and pick up the pieces. I mean, she gonna keep on going, no matter how hurting that she is. She's very resilient. You know, and that's a character trait for a woman, and that's why that's important in that role. Where men, now they ain't gonna like this. They gonna, you know, y'all don't send me no letters. Y'all don't send me no letters. But men are like eggs, raw eggs.
We just crack.
You throw them up against the wall, they just splatter. You know what I mean? And that's why we find men so easily on the corners, street corners, and out of the house. They don't seem to have that fortitude sometimes. And there's always an exception to the rule. There's always an exception to the rule. So this is not for every man. I'm not saying every man, but generally speaking, men are more fragile than women are when it comes to their being able to be resilient or have that fortitude.
I think that's an interesting outlook. And I mentioned earlier about the article I posted about men hugging men and telling men that they love them, because I think tapping into your emotional intelligence actually plays right into that, because having the ability to, or the strength, if you will, to say, I love you to another man and mean it and be comfortable with it, I think that builds a level of strength, you know, that may even combat that fragileness that you speak of. Yeah. You know, when you, I mean, because we as men, in terms of a gender difference, we, you know, there's a sense of belonging for us, you know, with other men. And I think again, I think that builds strength to, in fact, combat the fragility you spoke of.
Okay. And then let's understand now that, you know, again, I'm not, you know, coming against women or mothers. It's just a fact. I know my wife can tolerate more than I can when it comes to the kids and all of the different things going on. I mean, I'll be like, you know, I need a time out. You know
Or go ask your mama.
Yeah, you know, 'cause she'll work, she wash dishes or clean up the house, and you know, take care of my needs and the kids' needs.
Multiple hats
and
wear,
go to the store. You know, where I do two of them things, I'm done for the day.
Exactly.
You know. Now going back to the whole idea of men saying "I love you" to other men, I think that's why so many marriages are in trouble. I think because of a man's, again, there's always an exception to the rule. Okay, so this is not every man, but statistically it is most men. That most men are not able to connect with their wives because they don't have that emotional piece. In society, we've been taught that it's okay to be angry,
right,
and it's okay to be excited. You know, but we haven't been
primary
taught.
feelings for men, yes.
But we haven't been taught to be loving
or sad.
So we hold a lot of things in, which creates a lot of that fragileness, I believe. You know, because we don't have that outlet, or we don't allow ourselves that outlet.
And I think you hit it on the head. We don't allow ourselves, or we weren't taught.
Yeah.
You know, to understand and recognize that those emotions in us, and it's easier to hang on to the anger and the frustration as a man, and then society picks up on that too, and it, you know, boys ain't supposed to cry. You know, I'm teaching my son how to ride his bike, and he falls down and he bleeding, but get up, boy, you can't be crying, man, get up. But he's just, I mean, he literally hurt, you know, but I'm telling him not to cry, but that's the emotion that naturally comes out.
And I think as a result of it, when you talk about marriage, because they have forgot the therapist guy's name, but he talks about women or men, but mainly he was talking about women in both, you know, but I'm talking about women. They give you, they have what they call these bids.
Okay.
And the bid is, I'll say something, or the woman would say something, she's looking out the window and say, oh, look at that is a beautiful car right there. That's a bid.
Okay.
She's trying to get you She's asking you for some emotional care.
Okay.
And
Some
most men would
response.
say, yes, some respond.
Right. Okay.
And most men would either not respond
Okay.
or they'll grunt, which is still a response. But what they need is, at that point, for us to stop what we're doing and come into that conversation
Okay.
in order to be able to nurture, if you will.
Yeah, some communication one-on-one.
Communication is that word, yes.
Some sending and receiving of messages and really hear what I'm saying.
Now, because I think we're only taught to be happy or mad,
Okay.
we don't respond to those moments.
It's hard to pick
You
up
know.
on those cues for some guys who are not emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good articulation of the situation. Yeah. But when we talk about the whole idea, let's look at just a couple things here. Why do you think that gender roles, when it comes to the African American household, is so important?
Wow. I think, again, back to society and us living here in America, I think society plays a major role in that. In other words, where we're totally absent from, if you will, the African concept. You mentioned village the other day. You know, the African concept of village and being wrapped in that village is so individualized here. You know, that where you know, the whole team concept is not embraced.
Okay.
You know, and that just literally creates problems.
And I think that's a good way to sum up what's happening in a marriage or a family when the woman has that bid for that attention.
Right.
That's all a part of teamwork.
Yeah, and when you
know.
look at all the things that she's competing with, you know, for attention. Everybody is competing for her attention. All of those other areas you mentioned them earlier: cooking, cleaning, rearing of the children. Our needs as men. I mean, those are just 4 things that she has to be focused on and that are vying for her attention.
Yeah.
You know.
And so when we're raising up our children, especially our boys, if we don't give them the right image of how to love and how to be able to engage in those communication skills, then we perpetuate or we continue the cycle of this happy anger, person.
Yeah.
Now,
And that individualistic way of dealing with relationships, man. And when you think about it, I mean, and particularly with men in society, you know, we gravitate towards teams because it's something that we can belong to.
Okay.
But we don't take that same concept into the house.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think a lot of the imagery that we had growing up, the movie Claudine and the different images that we had growing up, it wasn't until later on with the Huxtables, did I say his name right?
Huxtable, Heathcliff Huxtable.
You know,
yes.
to that era that we began to shift that whole idea.
Yeah.
I know for me, growing up, we used to be at home with the fork and the spoon sitting at the table waiting on my wife to get off of work so she can cook, you know.
Okay.
And then, you know, because she's a school teacher and a lot of times she came home late, you know, doing what they do. We would go to McDonald's or something, but then as my boys got older, they ate more and it started costing more. There was no longer Happy Meals was enough. I had to begin to learn how to cook.
Okay.
And so I think I developed over that span. We've been married now 30 years, going on 31. And I developed over the course of time, realizing that that's why I said when it comes to traditional roles, it's not all traditional, because some of those roles I had to take on when you talk about teamwork, to cook, you know, and then I found that I enjoy cooking the things that I can cook. Now, I messed up a lot of meals, but there's a couple things I can cook, or even cleaning. You know, I don't clean as often, you know, as she probably would like, but you know, when I do clean, you know.
It's recognized, ain't
you know, and so the things more that I do, manly thing, I make sure the car is straight and, just other things.
Those manly things.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
garbage is out, and
yeah.
the snow is shoveled in
Yeah.
front of the house, grass is cut.
Yeah, there you go.
I hear you.
Even if I make it happen, it's the same as.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, listen. Let's move on. Let's move on and talk about. Let's go back and talk about. We started out talking about the responsibilities of our children when it comes to, us protecting them from what we went through. And I think nowadays we have a lot of our young people who think that they're entitled. Now I know entitled is a little different in the cultures that when we talk about the Anglo entitlement, it's a little different than when we talk about the African American entitlement. And so when we talk about the African American entitlement, it's the entitlement within the context of the family.
Right.
Versus in the Anglo context is in the context of the world.
Right. Exactly. That's a good point.
And so when we talk about the African American child, do you think that we do them justice or disjustice by protecting them from everything as they grow up?
But can I also add to that entitlement another category of, particularly with respect to, the Anglo aspect of it. The other title I'd like to add to that is invincible too, man, because the young people think that they are invincible, and I think that's a natural thing.
Sure,
growing
we
up
did
here,
too.
because we did too.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But as you get older, you realize that, particularly now with like video games, that you have a car accident, you're not. Unlike the video game, you're not gonna get up and walk away from that. There's a certain level of reality to that. But to your point, I actually don't know if I think it's a disservice, because I think it's really, what we've been conditioned, if you will, to do. And I have to revert back to the point earlier about being a protector, and how we take on that role. Real serious, and then it guides us, in how we respond and relate to our children.
Okay, all right. Now for me, I think that growing up, my father, he had good work ethics, and so watching him, he had good work ethics, and then my grandfather. He had also good work ethics.
Okay.
And so between the two, I think that's where I got my work ethics from. Now, as a result, now when it comes to my work ethics, they wasn't soft on me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It was not like a choice. There was that this is what you do as a man.
Exactly.
And so instilling that in me, I think made me have greater work ethics. Now, my sons may watch this, and they know I love them both dearly, and they told me early on, don't use them as examples.
Okay.
So with that said, maybe I better roll on. but
roll on, Pastor.
When it comes to thinking about the new generation as far as protecting them or excusing them from some of the learning experiences of work and responsibilities when it comes to taking out the garbage and cleaning up, in those work ethics. When we look at some of the society now, seem to me, in my opinion, it's kind of soft in that area.
Yeah, this softening of the generation, if you will, I think there are a myriad of things that play into that. And I actually think like technology is one area that plays into that. When you think about the generation that our fathers come from and that work ethic you mentioned, another thing that was where you got outside and you ran around and got you some exercise, dads would take, boy, get out, go outside and play, find something to do. Don't be sitting up in this house, as opposed to sitting up in front of the house, one in front of the TV, and then that changed into, from the TV we went to the computer or the phone. Now it's the phone, and we got it in our hand all day, every day, and I think that just has contributed to, it's one of many factors that has contributed to the softness, if you will.
Yeah. Well, since you brought that up when it comes to, them staying in the house. We in an era now where we having over 7,000 a day here in Milwaukee or Wisconsin when it comes to this whole COVID thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a result of it, we are mixing up the difference between social distancing and emotional distancing. And so even though in our society we are to social distance, many are emotional distancing as well. In other words, we are isolating ourselves and we're cutting ourselves off. Again, going back to purpose, we were created to have fellowship with each other. We were created to be social, and now the opposite of that is happening. And so when we think about this whole idea of the COVID and the way it is, what are some of your thoughts on that?
I mean, you can't be a person without people, man. And you have to interact with other people. And personally, I think that what we're dealing with right now, we haven't even begun to experience the long-term psychological and, even cognitive challenges that we're going to have from that wedge, if you will, that's been literally put between us because of this whole pandemic. So, I mean, it's gonna again, it's one of those kind of wait and see about how it's really gonna have or the impact that it's really gonna have on us.
So in your opinion, why do you think that we're so confused or so divided when it comes to whether or not we should be masking up and social distancing? And I do understand if we shut down the economy, and that can be a whole nother, animal, if you will. And I do get that. But when we think about, I know in our church we've had Remember Die related to COVID. We had family members, multiple family members in one family related to COVID. And we see even in the White House, we have people, our president got COVID, and so we know that it's a real thing. And so, but when you look at, from a politician standpoint, and when we talk about the whole idea of governments battling within the states, it seemed to be a confusion as far as how to or how not,
It's been so politicized, man. I think you mentioned the mask thing. I think it's been so politicized to benefit, the whims of one party over the other versus the actual medical and scientific benefits, if you will, of wearing a mask. And it has so divided us now because one side has been pitted against the other, as opposed to, again, talking about how people, can avoid this thing and the best thing for people. And it's been not only politicized, it's been monetized.
Definitely.
And those are some of the challenges, and they're huge challenges to overcome. When they get put into those boxes. They're huge challenges to overcome, and it makes it that much easier for the people who are pulling the strings, if you will, to, in fact, dichotomize and put people, pit people against one another.
And so we know that, and we only have a few minutes, but we do know that through statistics and what we're seeing, that the younger people seem to be more invincible when you talk about, asymptomatic and being able to have it and go around. However, when it comes to like me, for instance, I'm in that age group where,
be careful.
I have to be careful.
Yes.
What would you say to your children as far as social distancing is concerned? Would you say that they should do it, or?
That's a good question. But yes, I definitely think that they should be mindful of what the scientific and medical community are saying. But at the same time, I don't want them, to put themselves in a box. We had mentioned earlier about going outside. And with this pandemic, and we're all quarantined, in the house. And I mean, that doesn't mean you can't go outside now. You can walk down the street, go in the backyard. That doesn't mean you're not supposed to go outside and get some fresh and not get any fresh air.
Okay. So when you say in the box, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Because when you said in the box, my antenna
that's
went
the
up. I was
house,
like, okay,
in the
that
crib,
sound like you sound like one of them who said you can or you can't. But you're saying from the standpoint of being able to, you still have to function in society.
You still have to function.
You just have to be careful.
Yes,
just like if it's snowing real bad, you still drive, but you ease up off of it.
Exactly.
Or in the other type of conditions. And so
use common sense, man.
So when we talk about the whole idea of social distancing, and we're in on this, I think about every year we host a Thanksgiving dinner with the family. So one year we'll be out of town with my wife's family. The other year we'll be in town with all of our family and my wife's family. They come in from Indiana and different states to be here. And this year we were supposed to host it, and so we kept down to the wire saying, okay, we're not going to have it. Okay, we're going to have it. And then once the numbers went all the way up, we just said, no, we're not going to have it. And the point that I'm making is, it was all of the young people in my family, my sons and my nephews and nieces. They were the one like, why not? Come on, y'all. And I'm like, okay, well, you all could be asymptomatic. I cannot afford it. And so in closing, what would you say to those who struggling with, like the younger person is struggling with being able to be outside the box, but not necessarily taking in consideration their grandparents or their parents, versus those on the opposite side, like myself, that will be more of a tendency to stay within some type of box. I do get out, but I don't go any extra places if I don't have to. What would you say to finding that balance?
I think that's the benefit of the wisdom that you get when you become and get older. I mean, you mentioned earlier about trying to prevent the children from making some of the same mistakes that we made. I think ultimately, we all have to be allowed to bump our heads on our own. Otherwise, you're not going to learn. Now, I don't mean take it to the extreme where they go out and you just let them go out willy-nilly and do something that is going to be detrimental to their health. But at the same time, there still have to be opportunities for them to learn on their own. But I also think at the end of the day, young people really, have to listen. They have to really, really listen, actively listen, to what, that those wise older guys are saying to them, man. Since this is man to man, listen to what,
Yeah, I wish we had a little more time, but we could pick it up on our next time. But yeah, that is something that we probably really need to talk about. What is that hesitancy when it comes to listening to that older person with wisdom? I know when it comes to me, and say I'm going to another thing. Listen, we are out of time. This has been really good. I thank you, Terrence Ray. This has been a good conversation.
Oh man, I love it. Yes,
and I pray that this has helped somebody. Listen, there's a flyer on your screen now, coming on your screen about not emotional distance, and I want you to look at that. And you may have to go back and pause it after it records and stay on there. But here's some tips about not being emotionally distanced during this time of social distancing, and take in consideration your grandparents or your parents who may not be asymptomatic, and then try to find a balance there. As Terrence Ray eloquently said, you can live outside of the box, but just make sure that you find that balance. You got to have some wisdom in how you go. Don't be arrogant, if you will. And so it talks about the importance, what you can focus on the things that you can control, engage in some coping skills, focus on the facts and not myths. Having outdoor activity is important, and emotional connective connectivity is important as well. Listen, that's all the time that we have. Thank you again for tuning in to Man Conversations with Dr. Burns, Dr. A.D. Burns, and my special guest, my compadre on this journey, Terrence Ray. And so, listen, we hope that you'll tune in next week to our Man-to-Man show as we continue with conversations with Dr. A.D. Burns. Listen, God bless you.